Good morning, everybody. If you've ever struggled to grow, stay driven, and have a positive attitude, today you are in the right place. We're going to talk about the 10 core principles of a growth mindset. So my name is Justin Konikow. If you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome. I'm the owner of Prime Real Estate with my incredible wife and Prime Media Productions. We use content to generate real business and real clients. We're located in Southwestern Ontario, Canada, but we have a global reach. And what I like to do on this channel is showcase to you all the tips and tricks about how we are actually building our business, how we're growing our team, how we're building culture, content, and productivity at an ultra high level, but show you the actual recipe so that you can implement it in your business. So let's get right into it. I don't want to waste any time. So of the 10 principles of a mindset, I would say the number one principle you need to integrate into your life is a growth mindset. Of all the people I've ever met that have achieved a high level of success, many of them will talk about goals, but the ones that are at the very, very top of the class, they are the ones that are focused on growth. And how can I extrapolate this in a story that you would understand? Well, let's talk about real estate because that's the business I'm in. Let's look at one real estate agent who achieves a high level of success, right? They are known as the luxury agent in your market. I bet you could name that person off the top of your head without batting an eye. Drop in the comments what market you're actually in. I'd love to know where the audience is from. And there's a whole bunch of you here, so I'll get to your comments in a second. Now, think about another agent who's brand new in the industry, right? Who starts getting in the weeds and they want to become that luxury agent and they're working hard at it. And, they're doing maybe 12 deals a year. This other agent's banging out 50 deals a year without batting an eye. Right? In real estate, once you get to 5 years, they say very often, if you do a good level of business, it's going to perpetuate itself and it's always going to keep you at a level of production. As long as you take care of your sphere, that will perpetuate itself for a very long time. Now, what if that newer agent comes up against that experienced agent on a luxury property? And that luxury agent has the mindset that they know everything, right? They know how to market a property, and that newer agent, they're never going to take that listing from them. Yet the seller who's selling that property understands that we live in a day and age where it's about exposure, not just experience, right? And that newer agent has been learning and finding the best ways and watching our channels here and seeing how we built a platform that gets more leads than MLS. And then I sit down with that luxury seller that agent sits down with that luxury seller and explains to them, hey, if you list with me, here's my pricing methodology that I learned from Ryan Serhant. Here's my marketing tactics that we've built over the last couple of years, that here's the actual data. We're going to hit 5 to 10 times the amount of people as if you just plug yourself into MLS. Oh, and here's a 16-point marketing plan that is going to completely upcycle your property. And yeah, I understand the market shifted and there's so much inventory, but we're going to keep you at the very, very top. And then Uncle Jimmy, the super experienced realtor, just comes in and goes, I'm the man. Look at me. My name and my sign is everywhere. And his sign's on 10 other properties in that area. Quite often, the sellers of those properties will look at Uncle Jimmy and say, man, you're too busy to take my business. Or what are you going to do differently that you're going to do for me on the 10 other listings that you're actually putting out there? And you'd be shocked how many times in my career as I was coming up that I was counted out because I wasn't the experienced agent, but I was always in a growth mindset and always showing my clients that I was willing to learn and adapt. The other lesson for that is once you get to a level of experience and doing sales like we're doing at Prime, understanding that it doesn't end and not believing your own hype is one of the most important things that you could ever focus on when it comes to growth. If I just believed my own hype and said, hey, I can walk into any listing and close it today because I know what to say, I've got the system, I promise you in a year or two, things are moving so fast in the real estate industry, somebody is going to come and take my lunch. The other thing about real estate that I think is super important is, for myself, I don't want to be an agent that's just out of production and just sending leads to my team. And I don't have a heartbeat on what's actually happening in the weeds. Typically show up to the office earlier, I stay later, and I'm very involved in the business. And the reason is I want to be a black belt. I want to be a samurai. I want to be able to lead my team in a way that nobody else can. So staying focused on growth long-term is super, super important. Now, we're going to play a little game. And what I want you to do is, from a growth mindset perspective, drop in the comments 1 out of 10 where you think you land when it comes to a growth mindset. The end of this, we're going to actually tally up all of the 10 points and we're going to see what your score is. And this is a great thing to do because it gives you an honest idea of where you need to work on in your 10 points. So what we're going to do is 1 out of 10, drop it in the comments. I want to see where you guys are at right now. 7 is not an option if you're ever doing a 1 out of 10 gauge of something. 7 is the easy. Oh, I might be a little bit on the positive side. I might be on the negative. But if you take it off the table as an option, you're going to be a 6 or you're going to be an 8. The second point when it comes to a mindset that a high achiever uses to achieve success would be resilience. Probably one of the hardest things for people to deal with. I've said at the beginning of this episode, if you've ever felt like you're struggling to grow, if you're having a hard time maintaining a positive attitude or stay driven, quite often that comes from the resistance you feel when you're out there. You don't get hired. You go and do a pitch. You put 45 hours into a contract and they go with their Uncle Jimmy just because of a relationship, or you didn't even really get a chance to earn their business, right? Or on the other side of that coin, you fail at communications. You don't communicate properly as to what you're doing. So they assume you're doing nothing, and a relationship disconnects because of the fact that you failed on the communication side, right? So when you meet resistance, how are you building your resilience? I think resilience is one of the most critical things you can teach your family, your kids, yourself, and your team, so that when they come up against the resistance, it's building a stronger foundation for them rather than cracking it and letting the water seep in. I look at resistance similar to the Incredible Hulk, where whenever I've had a challenge in my life, I find that challenge typically sets me up for success in the next one. And even with clients, like when we find a shift in the market and a challenge in the marketplace, I find meeting the resistance head on with resilience and showcasing to your clients your willingness to do that will earn you loyalty. If you're experiencing a market shift right now, we saw it May to August last year. Part of my communication with my client was, well, it doesn't matter where we price some of these properties, buyers are just not pulling the trigger. But my job for you isn't necessarily to handle multiple offer situations in the chaos of the real estate market right now. My job for you is market intelligence, giving you advice as to what's actually happening, leveraging my network so that I could give you the best information for you to make the best decision with your portfolio, whether you're a builder, a homeowner, or an investor. Second thing is deal flow. How can I create deals that don't exist in this marketplace? And third, negotiation. What do you do when a market has absolutely shifted and a buyer is giving you an offer 300 grand under the asking price? Most agents bury their head in the sand and they don't even want to present the offer. I thrive in that resistance. And I can tell you deal after deal that we've done recently where an offer comes in super low, we come back super high. We work hard for 2 weeks, let them walk away. They come back and we end up putting a deal together because of the resiliency. So where do you land? 1 out of 10, 7 is not an option. When it comes to resiliency, please jump in the comments. This morning, I see Dora Marie. You're amazing. She is a courageous woman who believes in kindness for all. She just dropped a book. Everybody go check out Dora Marie on Amazon. And yes, Olivier, I think you're getting into my mind a little bit this morning. Good morning, Sheila Santini, as always. Derek Bixler, I appreciate you. And Dream Plan Start Grow. It looks like you're an 8 out of 10 from a growth mindset. Let me know where you are at from a resiliency standpoint. Third mindset of high achievers is a positive attitude. Nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy. One of the things that I struggled with early on in my real estate career is I would come into the office full of energy. As you can tell, I have a lot of it. And sometimes I'd be around people who were negative and they would just speak negativity about the clients and the people that were around them. And it always left me with a bad taste in my mouth where I felt like, hey, if you're going to talk about these people, say it to their face. Like I would never be one person behind closed doors and then be another to a client's face, right? I think that there's no sense in doing that because it's not sustainable from a growth perspective. But the second thing is a positive attitude perpetuates a positive attitude. People want to do business with people that they feel good doing business with. Now, I don't want you to just pretend that everything's amazing and there's nothing bad happening in the world. I think that's just putting on rose-colored glasses and ignoring reality. But I think you can be positive in a difficult situation, and that really can set you apart from a growth perspective and help you understand that when difficult things happen, that everything is an opportunity. I don't know if you've ever seen my podcast, but I have the Prime People podcast. You could actually watch it. I'll show you on YouTube and Buzzsprout. So it's on Apple Podcasts. It is on Spotify. And every single one of these people, from Jillian Sumbers to Joshua Lee, Ryan Serhant, you can watch it on YouTube as well. All of these podcasts that I did, every single person that I've asked about how has failure shaped your life, every single one of them absolutely kills it when it comes to this concept of maintaining a positive attitude. So if you want to listen to the podcast, by all means, I will drop it into the comments right now, and then I will drop it into Clubhouse. So fun fact about these live streams, if you've never been on one or you're watching a replay, is we go live on Clubhouse 7 a.m. till 7:30 on Fridays, and we actually chop it up after. So if you want to hang out, by all means. Anna Abadamarco is here as well. I see you on Clubhouse. Connie Campbell, Crystal. Wow, all of you are here on Clubhouse. Amazing to see you. Anna is a close friend, runs a great operation as well too. I can't manage the Clubhouse comments and the YouTube comments, so my amazing moderators will be on Clubhouse, but the link is in both places if you want to catch the podcast. So the fourth concept when it comes to a killer mindset for growing in your life and business is something that I'm going to say, and then I'm going to disagree with, but I'm going to say is important to think about. So having a goal-oriented mindset is important. And the reason why I think that's important is having goals directly correlate to something that you can measure, right? I'm trying to get better with my nutrition. I had a major surgery back in December. I've been recovering for 12 weeks. March 1st, I am going to be a lot more limber than I've been for the last 7 years. I'm very excited. But coupled with that, the one thing I'm super trying to dial in is my nutrition. So something as simple as making a goal of not eating processed foods and tracking it every day. At the end of my week, I get to see out of 7 days, how many days was I able to stay focused on that goal. Now, from a growth mindset perspective, overall, I'm trying to just change who I am as a person. I'm trying to improve every single day. And I think a growth mindset trumps a goal mindset, because if you're stuck in a goal mindset, a lot of people will just continue to move the goalposts. And when I sell 20 deals, I'll be great. When I sell 50 deals, I'll be great. When I sell 100 deals, then they'll tell me I'm amazing. It's never going to happen. The world's never going to tell you you're beautiful. They're never going to tell you you're enough. You're going to constantly move the goalposts. But the growth aspect of your life, right? Simple things like getting control of my relationship and my time deployment with my wife and daughter, making sure that I'm putting the right people in place so I can buy my time back, so I can focus on the highest value tasks that Justin needs to be focused on. And it's not all roses. I'm in this season right now. From Q4 last year, we have completely ripped apart the foundation of what Prime is going to be. We are building the future of 2025 to 2030. Those that understand. Those that don't. But what goals do you have? And here's 3 tips for you. I'd encourage you to write down a couple goals for today, a couple goals for 60 to 90 days from now, and then a goal that you want to accomplish in this year, and look at it on a regular basis. It makes all the difference in the world. So we talked about growth mindset. We talked about resiliency. Out of 10, 7's not an option. What is your number when it comes to a positive attitude? From a goal-oriented standpoint, out of 10, what is your number when it comes to a goal-oriented mindset? So number 5 is passion and drive. So I feel like this is maybe my superpower from the standpoint that I've always had a passion for my work and a drive for my work, but I also can tell you it has not always felt that way. Many challenges in my job where it feels like the world can stop you from having that passion and that drive, or you can encounter a very difficult season where you're having a really hard time converting clients, or from a global perspective, the markets are shifting. And I can tell you, I talk to YouTube creators. Their fund is down about 30% from their ad revenue and the income coming in. I talk to people that are in manufacturing, agriculture, real estate. I talk to people that are in M&A, and I can tell you with some global conflicts and things that are happening, like it is global, right? So how do you not lose your passion and drive when the world is going through a season like it's going through right now? Back to basics, sharpen your sword, get control of your expenses, get an idea and a snapshot of your mental, physical, and financial health. Do things like this and get a really good idea of where is your actual mindset. Because if you don't, and you're just waking up and you're just batting the ping pong balls away as fast as they come in, it's this perpetuating cycle that's going to leave you feeling like you are drowning. And this whole reason that I'm doing this segment is to pull you out of this. And the super hack of it is it actually helps me. A lot of this content is stream of consciousness, things that I'm working on, and I'm trying to extrapolate it for the community. So from a passion and drive perspective, we're talking personally and work-wise, where do you rank out of 10? I want you to be super honest. Jump in the comments, drop 1 to 10. 7's not an option. and maybe even where do you want to be? And then at the end of this, we are going to tally them up, and I'm going to give you the path forward that's going to make your life a lot easier. The next one, number 6, this was super interesting. So I've read Tribe of Mentors. I've done hundreds of podcasts. I've been on many, many podcasts. The one through line that I have seen amongst high achievers is the willingness to learn continually. Those that are always searching for knowledge tend to never fail, even when it may seem like they are, even when maybe they lose a company or they lose a client, or it seems like maybe they're not achieving the followers or the subscribers that their goals are. A lot of them achieve success despite the vanity metrics of success. So YouTube is a great example of that. I am 100% committed on 2 of my channels to a growth trajectory, and I am seeing the results of the actions, right? I'm not at the growth place that I want to be yet. I'm almost at monetization on this channel. So make sure you subscribe and like if you've gotten any value from this content. That's the only thing that I ask. But on my main channel, I am. So on the Prime channel, we've been monetized for 3 years now. We've got over 1 million views. We're pulling in probably 30 to 60 leads a month, depending on the month, from the organic YouTube and Google SEO. But how did I do that? It was just consistency over time, but the continuous learning piece more than anything. So out of 10, where do you land from continuous learning? Are you incorporating it into your calendar on a daily basis? I would say 30 minutes, and pair that up with your goals. So get clarity on what you are trying to achieve and then what you need to learn to achieve that thing, right? I actually have a spreadsheet where I think here are all the different categories, the buckets. One could be real estate, one could be YouTube, and one could be entrepreneurship. So what am I reading? What companion Facebook groups and courses are there that I'm involved in? And then how am I putting that calendar on a daily basis? Right? Am I actually opening up those tabs and spending a little bit of time learning one thing every single day? Because if you can do that consistently, I promise you, it's like compounding interest. I would rather have $1 a day in perpetuity for the rest of my life, because the compounding interest of that would be more than if I was given $1 million just overnight, right? Very, very important. So continuous learning, where are you at out of 10? The next one is focus and concentration. So now paired up with everything else that I told you, another mindset of high achievers is they maintain an incredible high level of focus. Very difficult in this day and age. A couple super hacks I can give you around this. Control your calendar, right? If they say your calendar and your bank account were the only thing that I could look at to learn about who you are, what story would that tell? Because what you're spending your money and your time on is a direct reflection of your ambitions. And if you have certain ambitions and they're not mapped out in your calendar, then you need to change your ambitions or change your actions. You only really have 2 options. For another super hack I'll give you, email communication. It is overwhelming for many, many people. Set parameters around it. Most people in my world know email is not the best way to get a hold of me. It is something, if it's non-urgent, send me an email. I have 4 people that watch my email, but I personally check it 7:30 to 8, typically, not today because I'm covering Glenn's segment, but 7:30 to 8, 12 to 12:15, and then typically 4:30 to 5 p.m. Yes, I'm going to glance on it if there's dollar productive or contracts going back and forth. And like, it's not something that I completely adhere to, and I'm not going to check my email the other times, but I do time block my batch emails so that I have control of the communication. And I know when it's going to happen. I don't just wake up and check my emails and start freaking out. I do my entire morning routine. I work out and I control my day and my comms. Same thing with appointment setting, right? So many people, they get a call and the client says, "Hey, can you meet me at 7 o'clock tomorrow at this property?" And they're like, they're so scared to respond that no, like, let's do it at this time. They think they're going to lose the client. They don't realize quite often that client can be very, very flexible, and they don't have to cancel that appointment with their wife or their daughter to run into that appointment. And if it is a client that doesn't respect their time enough to do that, then maybe they're not the right fit for each other. And maybe that client should realize that sometimes somebody that does have structure and control in their schedule is far more valuable than the person who's going to drop whatever to do whatever, because they're probably not good enough at their job to be able to set parameters around that. So I'm not going to go down that wormhole, but from a focus and concentration perspective, if you had to be very honest with yourself, how focused are you every single day? Out of 10, 7's not an option. Jump in the comments. I want to know, and make sure you're tallying these, because in a couple seconds, we are going to tally them up and I'm going to give you your homework. The next one is adaptability. One of my favorite things on the planet is the ability and speed at which Prime is able to move. We do some of the largest commercial mandates in our entire territory which is very confusing to a lot of the old guards. We have a larger digital footprint than some of the oldest brands in Canada. How? Because we are able to adapt at a speed that other people simply aren't. So, not being stuck that, the market's hot last February. Oh my gosh, everything's selling in multiples. This is how you do business. When we recognized the shift in the market in May, I bought the book Shift for my entire team. We launched a book club. We started studying, learning. We had a passion and drive to achieve a new level of success and figure out the new way to sell. And we adapted faster than anybody else, which is why we achieved so much success in Q4 while a lot of other people were struggling. So are you willing to adapt, or are you stuck in your ways? 1 out of 10, 7's not an option. Jump in the comments, because this can actually help give you some clarity on where you can work on your mindset. The next one, self-discipline. Jocko Willink wrote a phenomenal book, and it's called Discipline Equals Freedom, where he talks about having discipline in the small things allows you freedom in the large things. Why am I going to time block my calendar, Justin? I'm just a free bird and I'm fluid. And yeah, I want to achieve success and I want to run a multi-million-dollar business and build the team and kill it on social media. But like, I'm kind of artsy, I don't want to do, and I understand that mentality, right? My brain is chaos. It's a circus in there more than most people. But by taking a little bit of time and creating clarity and then being disciplined, that's where you have more freedom than most people. The biggest misconception about me is I don't have any time for people and I can't make time for people. What I'm willing to do is always respond to them right away and use the parameters of the freedom of what I've created to make sure that I can slot things in where they need to be slotted in. But it also gives me the freedom that when spring comes, I can go fly fishing and I can go paddleboarding and I can take meetings from wherever I want because I have the structure in place. So how much self-discipline do you have in the big things and the small things? Another thing I want to share that my pastor told me years ago that I think is super important is you've only got really 5 things in your life. You've got your faith, you've got your family, you've got your fitness, you've got your fun, and you've got your finances. And if you had 5 cups and you had a liter of water, and that liter of water had to go in those cups, and each cup was a liter, and you filled up your work cup, what would happen to your family cup? What would happen to your fitness cup? What would happen to your faith cup and your fun cup and all the other cups, right? I think you need to think about it in that order. I personally think you have to be right in your heart and your faith. Then you have to be in a good place with your family. You have to over communicate with them. Then you got to make sure that your fitness is top shelf, because you need the energy to be around to do the other things. Then you got to put the things in your calendar that you love to do. And you'll realize from a self-discipline perspective, how little time you actually have to do the work for the finance piece to achieve the things that you want to achieve. But it's going to unlock a lot of self-discipline because you know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. I will give you some resources that you can go to that will help you with those things. Like, how do I do the actual things? But the most important thing is really understanding the self-discipline in the other 5 and putting your ego aside and realizing when you need to fill some of those cups, like the family cup or the faith cup. Just make sure that you have an idea on how to execute. So from 1 out of 10, from a self-discipline perspective, where are you at? The very last component of the mindset for high achievers that I think is the most critical is the ability to take responsibility, right? When somebody tells you that something was done wrong on a file, when a team member leaves, or you decide to let a team member go, or whatever happens, looking at it and not blaming other people is one of the biggest differences I've seen between people with a scarcity and an abundance mindset. Really taking extreme ownership, even if it was the other person's fault, every way that the world would look at it, really looking at what you could do to reposition yourself so you're not in that situation again, creates absolute freedom from the fact that you're not tied to the results. We spoke earlier about Tom Brady and about how he doesn't even care about winning. He just wants to be the best version of himself. Self-mastery is the game. The relationships are going to come and go, right? The people that you do business with will come and go. Some will be there for a very long time. Some won't, right? And if you are holding people hostage, or you feel like you're held hostage by clients, team members, relationships, it's just not really a good place to be in, right? I'm in a place now where I feel completely fine. If it's me flipping burgers at McDonald's, I am okay, because I've done the work to do the thing, to become the expert, to be able to now tell you the things that I learned and plug you in with other people who have better skill sets than I do to help you achieve that next level of success. And I can tell you over the last 10 years, it hasn't been easy. I've had lots of self conversations and debates with myself about why certain things happen. I've let go huge clients. I've fired multiple builders, which is not something that you do in this industry, but we just simply weren't in alignment from a culture perspective. And it's the best thing on the planet. And I've talked to them after the fact and maintained really good relationships with them and been able to overcome what the world and the industry would tell me is a onus or a indicator of success. The success is the self-mastery. The winning comes from the things we just spoke about. From a responsibility perspective, when something goes sideways, how quickly are you to blame other people? 1 out of 10. Where are you at from being able to take responsibility for the way that you did your hiring, the way you onboarded that person, the way that you set up expectations of this is the job we are hiring you for, so that if they don't work out, you're not blaming them for X, Y, and Z. You're looking at your process and rebuilding it from the ground up. So I gave you a whole lot of information. What you're going to do now is there's 10 things there. Out of 10, I want you, or sorry, out of those 10 things, I want you to tally up a number. You're going to get a number that's 1 out of 100. And I want you to think about it like jujitsu. I like it. I like it, Nathan. Nathan's been in the Prime community and the Prime Nation for a very long time. So I appreciate you being here. He's an 11 when it comes to accountability. That's amazing. So take those 10 numbers out of 100. Where do you land? White belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. There are 5 belts in jiu-jitsu. When somebody becomes a black belt, there's something that happens that all the other belts really just realize. Quite often, the black belts are absolutely amazing at the basics. They are incredible at the simplest things. It feels like you're rolling with a boa constrictor and they're not really moving. They're not deploying a lot of energy. You don't really understand why what's happening is happening, but they keep tapping you over and over and over. You roll with a white belt, maybe some jacked guy that came from good life and shows up and he's like, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu because I want to choke everybody. That mindset never really works out, but they come in and they spaz and they have a really, really hard time. They can't control their breathing. And you get another guy that comes and maybe he's a computer programmer, or maybe he's 140 pounds and he doesn't look like somebody that should be doing jiu-jitsu. What's fascinating is the guy with the right mindset that's willing to be humble and incorporate the 10 things we talked about. If they don't give up, the computer programmer is more likely to become the black belt than the guy that's got the ego and spazzes and can't deal with the fact that 150-pound person can beat them in a jiu-jitsu match, right? So I want you to take those 5 belts, 1 out of 20, 20 out of 40, 40 out of 60, 60 out of 80, 80 out of 100. And I don't need you to post this in the comments, but I want you to see where you rank in terms of belts. And you can even go down the list of the 10 things that I told you. And are you a white belt at a growth mindset? Are you a black belt at adaptability? Are you a purple belt at continuous learning? And the goal is to become a black belt in all things. But the last thing I'm going to tell you is a black belt is literally just a white belt that never gave up. So just because you're a 3 out of 10 when it comes to resiliency, or you're a 4 out of 10 to goal oriented, if you're honest with yourself, I told you, don't get attached to the outcome. Be real about where you are today and start putting in the work. It's not about 100% in one day. It is 1% per day forever. And one of the most valuable things you can do is get around other people that are on that growth trajectory and really focused on their mindset. I appreciate you all being here. I told you I was going to give you some tips on how I do some of these things. So out of the 10, this content creation guide, this is all at justinkonikow.com/resources. I'm going to drop it on YouTube, then in Clubhouse in a second. The content creation guide is literally how I create the massive amount of content on all of the different platforms that I distribute. The power of time blocking is literally how I set up my calendar. Getting started with YouTube helps you understand YouTube, how to get your videos in searchability and discoverability. And we have some amazing speakers that came on for that PDF. On this site, actually, TubeBuddy is another really good asset. This helps me analyze my videos, saves me a ton of time when I'm actually launching them. Actually gives you a checklist that will help you launch your videos and tell you exactly what you need to be focused on. Quick hack for YouTube. It is click-through rate. So you got to get people to click on your videos. Retention. Subscribers don't matter as much as you think they do. Every YouTube video has the opportunity to go viral. And that's not just from me. That's from Mr. Beast. And then I've got a couple other tips for you guys in PDF. So if you go to justinkonikow.com/resources, you can find all that stuff. We are done on YouTube for now. I'm going back to Clubhouse so we can jam on this topic around mindset. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure you like and subscribe and share this video with somebody that you think would appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next one. See you for now.